As I just mentioned there, historically, midterm elections are seen as a referendum on the current administration. Is this time going to be any different?
No, I think it'll be just as it always has been, where if you look at the president at the moment, he's doing very poorly in the polls, and so would expect there to be some losses in the House, and as you're sort of saying, there's some very slim majorities in the House and in the Senate for the Democrats. So the Republicans only have to turn it by 5 seats in the House, and as you say, they only need to pick up 1 seat in the Senate. So I don't think it's going to be any different this time around.
What does it mean for markets if the Republicans do turn it?
Well, if the Republicans do turn it, we think that there will be policy stasis. There won't be a lot of legislation that's passing through Congress. And as a consequence, we'll get a lot of policy inertia. And so, based on our analysis, we've seen that under various presidents, when you've got a divided Congress, or at least Congress in the hands of the opposing party, generally you see gains of maybe 12.9% annually with the S&P 500. And if you contrast that with a Democratic president with full control over both chambers of Congress, we see more sort of muted gains of 6.7%. So from an investor perspective, it would be a real boon if we see the Republicans take both chambers.
And right now, we were just listening to President Biden's latest comments around energy, calling on energy companies to play more of a part in addressing the energy crisis and be responsible, in his words, with their excess profits. What would it mean from an energy policy perspective if we were to see the Republicans take control of both the House and the Senate?
Well, obviously the Republicans would be more cautious when it comes to energy companies, but I don't think it's really going to change the dial very much, because at the end of the day, if the Republicans want to pass any legislation or overturn any kind of Biden's agenda, they're going to need to have a 2/3 supermajority in both chambers, because at the end of the day, the president will just veto any legislation, and you'd expect the Democrats to side with him. So at the end of the day, I don't think it's going to change the dial very much.
What does this mean longer term? I mean, one thing about the midterms is it's the start of the presidential race, which just seems ridiculous in many ways. But I don't know where the Republican Party is going to go, and I don't know where the Democrat Party is going to go, and even if there will be a Democrat primary as well. I mean, any thoughts on the 2 major players in those parties, i.e. Biden and Trump, contesting the presidential election?
Yeah, I mean, that's the million-dollar question, I think, as you sort of say. From a Democratic perspective, it really depends on how the midterms play out for Biden. If the Democrats don't do as poorly as the sort of polls are suggesting, then that might give Biden a good chance at seeking a renomination. I mean, it will be a decision for him to take. But if we look at the sort of betting markets, he's only given a 1 in 3 sort of chance of getting the next Democratic nomination. On the other side of that, of course, on the Republican Party, Trump is, although he hasn't specified whether he's going to run, I think it's pretty clear that if he sees an opening, he's going to go for it. His big challenger is Ron DeSantis, the governor of Florida. But I think from Trump's perspective, he's very popular in the party. I think he has a good chance of getting the nomination. It's just whether his sort of legal troubles that he's facing right now might cause a bit of a stumbling block to those. Okay.